The woman beside you starts acting difficult out of nowhere. One day, she's warm. The next, she's cold. She gets annoyed over things that never used to matter. Her tone changes fast. Her reactions get sharper. And you're left trying to figure out what you did wrong, even when nothing happened. You feel the tension building, and deep down, you know something is off. What you might not realize is that this woman could be a narcissist, not because of one bad moment, but because the way she treats you keeps shifting in the same direction. Everything becomes about her. Your feelings start to disappear, and every boundary you set turns into a problem. Over time, the connection drains your energy, your confidence, and your sense of safety. This video will give you clear and simple ways to recognize if the woman in your life is a narcissist. Fast, and with no confusion, straight insight, real signs, and the clarity you need to understand what's really happening and protect your peace. She pulls every conversation back to herself. This sign usually appears fast, and it becomes clear once you pay attention. No matter what you talk about, she finds a way to redirect everything toward her. You can be talking about your job, your stress, your family, or something that happened in your day, and within seconds, the focus shifts. Suddenly, the conversation is about her problems, her achievements, her opinions, or her experiences. When you try to share something meaningful, she doesn't stay with your story. She changes direction and brings the spotlight back to herself. Over time, this pattern makes you feel like your words don't matter. You start to hold back because it feels pointless to open up. You feel unseen, even though you are right there in the conversation. This isn't a small personality quirk. This is a sign that your emotional needs are not even part of the equation for her. A narcissistic woman wants attention, validation, and emotional energy from everyone around her. She doesn't naturally think about your feelings because her mind is centered on maintaining attention on herself. When this keeps happening, the emotional dynamic becomes unbalanced. You talk less, she talks more. You share less, she takes more. And you begin to feel smaller in the relationship without understanding why. It's not because you're quiet or weak. It's because she takes all the space in the conversation, leaving none for you. A healthy connection allows both people to speak, to feel heard, and to share moments equally. But with a narcissistic woman, the flow is one way. You listen, you support, you follow the conversation where she leads it. After a while, you notice that you've stopped talking about your life entirely because it never leads anywhere. This pattern matters. It drains your emotional energy. It weakens your confidence. It makes you question whether your feelings are important. Recognizing this early helps you understand that the problem is not you. The problem is the conversational imbalance that she creates on purpose or out of habit. When everything always circles back to her, it's a clear warning sign that your needs will not be acknowledged or valued in this connection. Understanding this gives you the power to step back, look at the situation clearly, and see that your voice deserves space, no matter who is sitting across from you. Your feelings never become the focus. When you try to open up to her, you can feel the shift right away. The moment the conversation stops being about her, she pulls back. She might look distracted, give short replies, or act like she suddenly has something more important to think about. It's not a small detail. It's a clear sign that your emotional world doesn't matter to her. You could be talking about something that genuinely bothers you, something you want to share with someone close, and she reacts like it's unnecessary. She doesn't ask follow-up questions. She doesn't try to understand. She doesn't stay present with you. The only time she shows emotion is when you're praising her, agreeing with her, or giving her attention. Anything outside of that gets ignored. This can hurt a lot because all you want is a basic level of care. You're not asking for the world. You just want someone to listen and be there when you're struggling. With her, even that feels impossible. She treats your feelings like they're an inconvenience. She makes you feel like you're too emotional or too sensitive, when in reality, you're just human. A narcissistic woman loves being admired, but she doesn't know how to handle someone else's emotions. Your sadness doesn't benefit her. Your frustration doesn't make her feel important. Your hurt doesn't feed her ego, so she disconnects from it. She doesn't support you because your feelings don't give her anything in return. And this starts to change you in ways you don't notice at first. You stop talking about what hurts. You keep things inside because you've seen what happens when you try to share. The cold silence, the lack of interest, the emotional distance. You learn that opening up only leaves you feeling worse, so you slowly shut down. Over time, this creates a heavy kind of exhaustion. You feel alone even when she's right next to you. You start doubting your own emotions, wondering if you expect too much. You try to handle everything by yourself, not because you want to, but because you no longer feel safe being vulnerable around her. This pattern is one of the biggest signs of emotional neglect. When your feelings never become the focus, it's not just about her behavior. It's about the impact it has on your self-worth. You deserve to be heard. You deserve someone who stays present when you open up. You deserve a connection where your emotions matter just as much as hers. And if you're already feeling this exhaustion, it's not your fault. It's a reaction to being emotionally shut out again and again. You're not too much. You're not the problem. You just haven't been given the space you need. And that says everything about her, not you. She reacts strongly when you say no. The way she responds to a simple no tells more than long conversations ever will. When you set a small boundary, like needing time alone, saying no to a request, or refusing to drop plans, her reaction can be immediate and out of proportion. She may get angry, go silent, sulk, or use passive-aggressive behavior. She might punish you by withdrawing attention, acting offended, or turning the moment into a drama that makes you feel guilty. This reaction is not about the boundary itself. It's about control. For a narcissistic woman, limits feel like a threat to the role she expects to play. When you protect your time or your space, she loses the easy access to attention and validation. The instinct is to push back hard, to pressure you into changing your mind, or to make you doubt that your boundary is fair. That pressure often looks like emotional manipulation, guilt trips, sharp remarks, or silent treatment until you give in. The effect on you is serious. When saying no starts to feel risky, you stop practicing self-respect. You begin to avoid setting limits because the cost, the upset, the punishment, the guilt is too high. Over time, this erodes confidence. You shrink your needs and act smaller, so conflict disappears. That pattern makes the relationship one-sided. Your boundaries become the only things you negotiate away. Recognizing this behavior matters because it shows how the relationship treats your autonomy. A healthy person hears a boundary, accepts it, and adapts. A narcissistic response is to escalate. That escalation signals that your limits aren't respected and that your safety, emotional or otherwise, can be compromised. Practical steps to protect yourself. State the boundary calmly and without long justification. Keep it short, and don't explain repeatedly. If the reaction turns abusive or threatening, remove yourself from the situation until it cools. Track how often boundaries are pushed back. If it's frequent, that pattern reveals how the person truly values you. Saying no should never feel dangerous. If it does, that is the clearest sign that the connection is not balanced and needs serious reevaluation. She expects special treatment all the time. You see it in tiny moments that add up. When work is busy or plans change, she still wants full attention right then. If a reply takes an hour instead of a minute, her tone shifts. If a plan doesn't go exactly how she wanted, irritation appears immediately. These are not isolated incidents. They repeat until they shape how daily life runs. She treats your time, your schedule, and your personal needs like obstacles to what she wants. That means you start rearranging your life to avoid a scene. Missed sleep, skipped plans, canceled meetups, these become normal. The small compromises stack, and suddenly the balance is gone. You end up feeling like the one responsible for keeping her calm, even though her mood swings are not your job. This demand for constant priority feels heavy because it pulls the relationship toward her needs only. A balanced relationship shares give and take. With her, the take happens first. Your choices get filtered through how they will make her feel. Over time, making decisions becomes a calculus of avoiding upset rather than doing what's best for both of you. That wears on confidence and freedom. Pay attention to how often this happens and how it affects daily choices. Does she expect immediate responses at all hours? Does she get upset when a plan isn't solely focused on her? Does she expect favors without returning them? Those patterns show that her expectations are the default, not exceptions. When special treatment is the rule, it shows where respect and reciprocity stand in this relationship. You don't need long arguments to protect yourself. Keep boundaries simple. State what's possible and stick to it. If asked to drop everything repeatedly, say no calmly and follow through. Note how she reacts. Respect should be the normal response, not entitlement. If the pattern keeps going, recognize that this behavior is about her needing constant validation, not about your failure to care. You deserve a relationship where priorities shift naturally, where both lives fit without guilt. If the expectation of special treatment becomes a pattern, that is a clear sign the connection is built on her demands, not on mutual care. That matters because it determines whether this relationship supports you or slowly takes you apart. She wants a lot of love, but gives very little back. You can give her everything: your time, your energy, your attention, your emotional support, and it still never feels like enough. She wants constant reassurance. She wants affection, on demand. She wants you to show up for her every time she feels insecure. But when you finally need support, she's suddenly distant, unavailable, or completely uninterested. This uneven dynamic becomes obvious over time. She shows warmth only when there's something in it for her. Maybe she wants attention. Maybe she wants validation. Maybe she wants to feel special again. The moment the situation requires her to give something back, comfort, effort, patience, empathy, she pulls away. You don't get the same energy you give, and you start feeling the weight of that imbalance. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a pattern. Narcissistic women love receiving affection because it feeds their ego and makes them feel important. But they struggle to maintain emotional connections where both people contribute. They can act loving in moments, but it rarely lasts. When things require steady care or real emotional presence, they fall flat, and you're left carrying the emotional load alone. This makes you feel like you're always the one fixing things. You're always the one reaching out first, apologizing first, trying harder, or smoothing things over. You notice you're the one planning, checking in, giving reassurance, and doing the emotional work. Meanwhile, she gives just enough to keep you attached, but never enough to make the relationship truly supportive. This slowly wears you down. You begin to feel empty because the connection becomes a cycle of giving without receiving. You question yourself. Am I asking for too much? Or, why does love feel this draining? Even though your needs are completely normal. What you're feeling is the exhaustion of a one-sided relationship. A healthy connection feels like teamwork. But with her, it feels like you're doing the work of two people. And no matter how much you give, the balance never evens out. Recognizing this pattern helps you see the truth. The lack of emotional effort isn't because you're unlovable. It's because she's only capable of taking, not building something real with you. She idealizes you quickly and devalues you just as fast. In the beginning, everything moves fast. She treats you like you're the most important person she's ever met. She gives you compliments, attention, and interest that feels intense and personal. You feel chosen. You feel seen. The connection feels strong because she makes it look that way. And because it feels good, you let yourself trust it. But then, without warning, the tone changes. The excitement fades, and you feel it immediately. She stops showing the same interest. She becomes colder, distracted, or distant. She doesn't look at you the way she did before. She may act irritated with things she once praised. The shift is sharp, and it hits hard because it feels like you did something wrong, even though nothing on your side changed. This cycle is common with narcissistic women. The early intensity isn't about genuine connection. It's about how you fit into what she wants at that moment. When she sees you as useful, exciting, or validating, she idealizes you. When her emotional needs shift, or when you stop feeding her constant validation, she quickly loses interest. It isn't personal, even though it feels deeply personal. That drop from being amazing to being treated like you're replaceable creates a lot of confusion. You replay conversations. You question your actions. You wonder why everything flipped so fast. The truth is that her early praise wasn't stable. It was built on her need to feel good, not on who you actually are. When her need changes, her behavior changes. This doesn't mean you lacked value. It means she wasn't capable of maintaining consistent respect or affection. And that inconsistency makes you feel insecure because you can't predict what version of her you'll get. One day, she pulls you in. The next, she pushes you away. That emotional whiplash keeps you stuck, hoping the good version will come back. Recognizing this pattern matters because it helps you stop blaming yourself. You didn't mess up. You didn't lose value. You didn't suddenly become less interesting. Her behavior had nothing to do with your worth. It had everything to do with her inability to sustain real, emotional connection. When you understand that the idealization and the devaluation both come from her, not from you, things start to make sense, and you can finally see that your value never changed. Her perception did. Protecting your peace when things become chaotic. When the relationship starts affecting your stability, the most important thing you can do is protect your space. This is not about punishing her. It's not about making a point. It's about choosing your mental and emotional safety. A narcissistic woman will push against any limit you set. But boundaries are the only thing that keep your life from feeling completely taken over. You don't have to give long explanations for why you need space. You don't have to defend yourself or convince her that your limits are reasonable. The more you explain, the more she twists your words or turns your needs into something negative. A simple, calm boundary is enough. You're not responsible for her reaction. You're responsible for your own peace. Once you stop absorbing every emotion she throws at you, things begin to shift. You start to see the difference between her behavior and your identity. You stop taking blame for things you didn't cause. You stop letting her mood decide how your day will go. You start understanding that her reactions reflect her own issues, not your value. This clarity is powerful. When you step back emotionally, you give yourself room to breathe. You regain the energy you lost from always trying to manage her feelings. You start listening to your own needs again. You notice what feels healthy and what doesn't. This is the beginning of healing. The moment you stop trying to fix someone who never intended to grow with you. Slowing down, your heart can breathe again. After being connected to someone like this, your heart ends up tired in a way that's hard to explain. You start doubting your own feelings. You second-guess every decision. You lose track of what you actually want because you've spent so much time managing someone else's reactions. Even simple calm moments feel unfamiliar because you've lived in a state of emotional tension for too long. Slowing down is the first step back to yourself. It's not dramatic. It's not complicated. It just means giving yourself permission to pause and feel what's actually going on inside you. Instead of pushing through the exhaustion, you acknowledge it. Instead of ignoring your needs, you let them matter again. This slow pace helps you reconnect with the parts of your life and personality that were pushed aside while you were trying to keep the relationship together. You also get to remind yourself of something important. Your worth is not measured by how much you can tolerate, fix, or adjust for someone else. Your value isn't defined by how pleased she was or how smoothly you handled her moods. When you slow down, you start to see the truth. You were carrying more than anyone should, and none of that was a reflection of your character. Healing doesn't require rushing or forcing progress. Healing needs steady space. Your emotions need room to exist without judgment. You deserve the chance to feel safe again, to trust your instincts again, to hear your own voice without it being drowned out by someone else's demands. You deserve softness. You deserve time. You deserve a kind of peace that doesn't drain you or demand constant effort just to keep things stable. Slowing down gives your heart the space it never had, and that space is where your strength and clarity start to grow back. If you've made it all the way here, that alone says a lot about your strength. Most people stay stuck in situations like this for years without ever questioning what's really happening. The fact that you're here, reading, trying to understand the truth, means you've already taken a huge step forward. That's not weakness. That's awareness. That's courage. You went through confusion, emotional ups and downs, and moments where you doubted your own reality. You probably replayed conversations in your head, wondering if you were the problem. You tried harder than anyone should ever have to. And even after all that, you're still here, looking for clarity instead of staying lost in the cycle. That is strength, real strength. So here's the part you need to hear clearly. You are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are not making things up. You were dealing with someone who minimized your feelings, twisted your words, and made everything revolve around them. Anyone would be affected by that. But now, you're choosing to take your life back. You're choosing peace over chaos. You're choosing to rebuild instead of staying stuck. And you absolutely have the right to do that. You deserve a relationship where your emotions aren't treated like inconveniences. You deserve stability, safety, and real connection. Something that doesn't drain you or make you feel small. You deserve to be heard, cared for, and valued. Those aren't big demands. Those are basic human needs. As you move forward, hold on to that truth. Your feelings matter. Your boundaries matter. You matter. And give yourself real credit. People underestimate how hard it is to pull yourself out of a dynamic like this. It changes the way you think and feel. The fact that you're trying to understand and grow from it already shows how resilient you are. More resilient than you realize. And as always, because YouTube's algorithm really pushes videos with engagement, if you feel this video helped you or made things clearer, a simple like and a quick subscribe would mean a lot. It helps the message reach more people who might really need it, and it makes sure you won't miss the next video that could support you on your journey.